Welcome back, Wisconsin high school hockey fans. It's your weekly edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. I'm your host, Mike Hammond, along with our astute panel of Bill Berg Jr., and Del Scanlon back after a 1 week hiatus. Del, good to see you back.
Thank you.
Games of the week. Junior got the chance to watch a pretty good game, Rhinelander taking on DC Everest last week.
Yeah, the game was better than the final score would indicate. Everest ended up losing that game 7-3 to the Hodags, who came in ranked number 4 in Division II. We knew coming in from last season that Joey Bellinger, Lane Rozier, and Leo Loesch for the Hodags were all really, really good. And it turns out they still are. Bellinger ended up with 4 goals in that game, 2 of them shorthanded. And he was really the difference maker in that game. 1-1 after one period, then Rhinelander really turned it on. Won the second period 3-1, and the third period 3-1. The real difference maker in this one, besides Rhinelander's overall team speed, they're a very fast team. Not just that top line of Bellinger and Loesch up front and Rozier on the blue line, but overall they're a very fast team. But the real difference in the game was DC Everest's mistakes. They held it together in the first period, but in the beginning of the second period, they made a lot of very poor clearing attempts in their defensive zone, and Rhinelander was just jumping all over them. Whether or not that's something they're prone to, or that's just it was forced on them by Rhinelander's speed. That was really the difference in the game. But overall, it was fun to watch. The second shorthanded goal by Bellinger was just awesome. It happened right in front of me. You could see it. The near side faceoff dot in the Rhinelander zone. They were on the PK. The two centers kind of tied each other up, and the puck stayed on the dot for probably a good second and a half before it just barely squirted back behind the DC Everest center, and Bellinger jumped on it before the pinching defenseman could get to it, and he was going one way, the defenseman was coming to the other, and it was off to the races. He went down to the other end on a breakaway, and he was so far ahead that he actually got 2 whacks at the rebound before anybody caught up to him. That was just a beautiful, beautiful play on his part. Heads up play, aggressive play on the penalty kill. It was really, really fun to watch. Despite the score 7-3, with obviously one of those was an empty netter. I thought both goalies played really well. Both teams were good. It was a fun game to watch. Unfortunately for Rhinelander, their next game was against Mosinee, and they did not have such a good time. And it looks like Mosinee has, we'll see it later, but Mosinee has taken their place in the top 6 now. But Rhinelander should get another crack at them in the Great Northern Conference tournament. Or they hope they'll get another crack at them in the Great Northern Conference tournament. So yeah, it was a good game overall. 7-3 in favor of the Hodags. Joey Bellinger was really the story. 4 goals in that game. He is very, very good, and he's got another year to play. He had 61 points last year as a sophomore. He's sitting on 32 so far this year as a junior, and he's got another year to play. So look forward to watching Joey Bellinger some more.
Del, you had the chance to catch up on a girls' game. Beaver Dam taking on Viroqua.
Thanks, MJ. Yeah, I made the back road trip to get to Viroqua from home here, and I was a little wondering what was going to happen in this game. They actually had played a week earlier in Beaver Dam, and Viroqua had won that game 7-0. But in talking to Viroqua's head coach prior to the game, I found out that Beaver Dam wasn't using their regular goalie in that game because she was out hurt, but she was back to play in this game. And this game proved to be a very good game to watch. First period, nobody scored, but the shots were 9-4 on Viroqua's side. In the second period, Viroqua was able to actually score a game just under 5 minutes remaining in the period to take a 1-0 lead. And then we went on into the third period. With 2:12 remaining in the game, there was an icing call, and Beaver Dam took the opportunity to call a timeout. And the big discussion was, okay, are they going to pull their goalie here now, or is it too much time left? Well, they went ahead and pulled their goalie and tried to apply the pressure there, but the Blackhawks were able to clear the puck, put it into the net from just over in the neutral zone to go up 2-0 and end up holding on to win the game 2-0. Very good game. Viroqua doubled up on shot to win that game with an empty netter, 2-0. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and give it over to Burglar for some discussion on a showcase he saw.
When he
thanks,
unmutes
Bill.
himself.
Thanks, Del. Bill and I went to Marathon Park on Saturday for the final round of the Wausau West Warriors Showcase tournament. Last year I went on Friday and Bill went on Saturday. But the Friday game's kind of late. The second game didn't even start till 8:30. But on the Friday that we didn't see, the host Wausau West was indeed a very gracious host to Eau Claire Memorial. Memorial beat them 8-0 on Friday, and then in the nightcap, it was Middleton and Notre Dame. Notre Dame came out of that one with a 6-5 win, despite outshooting Middleton 49-17. Notre Dame jumped out to a 3-0 lead, but then Middleton scored 4 goals in the second period to take a short-lived lead. Notre Dame tied it back up at the end of the second period, and then won it in the third period. But in that game, the leading scorer in the state, Brady Engelkis, he had 2 goals and 2 assists and an upper body injury. So he did not play on Saturday in the game against Wausau West, which was the consolation game in that tournament. And that was a game that we were at. And Wausau West apparently had a little spring left in their legs from taking the night off on Friday. They jumped out to a 3-1 lead in the first period, and very aggressive play by Wausau West to build that lead. And they never relinquished it. Middleton came back, ended up 5-4 Wausau West in that game, and a lot of penalties in that game. It wasn't a dirty game. There was just a lot of tripping. Tripping was the call of the day. A lot of tripping and hooking and holding in that, and interferences. Yeah, they were for the most part, they were legitimate penalties, but they weren't the things you really had to call. They did, somebody fell down, threw somebody in the box.
Did they get a do-si-do in there too?
Step on somebody's stick and fall down and
Tripping, yeah. But anyway, Wausau West won that game. And then in the championship game, it was Notre Dame and Eau Claire Memorial, and the score was close. It was 4-2. The shots were fairly even. Notre Dame outshot them 33-20, but it did not seem like a close game. The puck was pretty much in the Eau Claire Memorial end most of the day. They would get it, they would break it out, come down, get maybe a shot on goal, and then go back down there and again for another 2 or 3 shifts. But in fact, they even scored first. Eau Claire Memorial did on a puck that sat in the crease long enough for me to take 3 pictures, and I wasn't on I wasn't on rapid fire mode. I mean, I saw the puck. I took a picture. It was still there in the crease. I took another picture. Then I got the third picture just as the guy from Eau Claire Memorial was poking it into the net. It sat there for a long time. And listen, that gave, I mean, there was 1-0 Eau Claire Memorial at the end of the first period, but you just knew it wasn't going to hold up. Notre Dame scored 4 times in the second period. Eau Claire got one in the middle of the third to make it seem closer than it really was. But yeah, Notre Dame was there. They were pretty much all over them in that game.
I even had Burglar and I weren't together for that game. He was up in the booth above the benches and I was down in the corner. And after that first goal where the puck just sat in the crease, like I had to text him a sanity check. Like as a goalie and a defenseman, you know, the two positions I played in hockey, like to me, it felt like that puck was just in the crease forever. And I'm like, did it really take that long? And he's like, yeah, I took 3 pictures of the puck sitting there. I'm like, I have no idea how a puck sat in the crease for that long. It had to be like 3 seconds, which doesn't sound like much, but for a puck to just sit alone uncovered in the crease, 3 seconds is a long, long time. Eau Claire Memorial also had a breakaway about 45 seconds into the game that the goalie, the kid playing in net for Notre Dame, he turned that aside, and it looks like in the first period that was part of Eau Claire's game plan. Notre Dame's defensemen are incredibly aggressive in the offensive zone holding the blue line. Just incredibly aggressive holding the blue line. So it looked like there was a lot of icings in the first period where Eau Claire Memorial looks like they were trying to get a flyer out behind the defenseman and hit him with a pass and they just weren't connecting and it was leading to icings. Unfortunately for them, that really only lasted for the first period. In the second and the third period, they didn't have a whole lot of chances at that. Yeah, like I said, my 7-3 game was closer than the scoreboard, but yeah, as Burglar said, this 4-2 game was not as close as the score would indicate. Once Notre Dame tied it up and then just started marching through that second period, you're like, they're just on a whole different level right now.
That's what it sounds like, is that team is on a whole different level this year because, well, they kind of are. I mean, just seems like who's ever in the way is just going to get run over at this point with them.
Like,
they just kind of roll on.
Bayport took them to overtime and missed winning that game by 4 seconds or 7 seconds or whatever.
8.3.
Yeah. And like that was enough to get Bayport unanimous number 2 in the state.
Okay.
You know, we rarely have a unanimous number 2, but just taking them to overtime and then losing. All right, every coach in the state who sends in a vote, Bayport is number 2 now.
All right. Let's see here. Let me get back to where it was. There we go. Oh, it's me. Okay. Radisson Madison Players of the Week. Congratulations on Alaska Lacrosse. Noah Gillette had 5 goals in a 6-5 loss to Thomas Sparta. And a game against Somerset, 1 goal, 1 assist, and a 5-2 win over Somerset. Did I get that right?
It was lost to Somerset. No, the win to Somerset. Yes, you got that.
Yeah,
Right.
they won over Somerset. They beat they lost to Thomas Sparta.
I hope Noah's a nice kid because, you know, I never had the talent to score 5 goals in a game, but to score 5 goals and then lose 6-5, if you're not a nice kid, you got to look at your teammates and be like, come on, somebody put the puck in the net.
Girls side, Emma Clogora, Rock County Fury. Emma on Monday in a 7-0 win over Beaver Dam, 2 goals, 3 assists. And next week, she had 4 assists and a 6-2 win over the Icebergs. Emma Clogora, you are the Radisson Madison Girls Player of the Week. Noah Gillette, congratulations. You are the Radisson Madison Boys Player of the Week. And the Radisson Madison is the headquarters for Wisconsin Prep Hockey during the state tournament, which is coming around quickly here, guys.
We knew that there'd be a Clogora Player of the Week eventually.
Yeah,
One of the two gets nominated every week. Like they alternate, or sometimes they both get nominated.
they're they're, they're both pretty talented, and they both, you can tell when they're on the ice because both of them work pretty hard. But Emma looks like, 4 assists, setting up her teammates in a 6-2 win. That works. Top sixes, Bill Jr. Everybody wants to hear me stop banging my gums here, and they want to hear more of you talking about the top six. What do you got?
Well, no movement in the top 3 for Division One. Notre Dame is still number 1, Bayport's still number 2, and Chippewa Falls is still number 3. University School moves up 1 spot to 4th. Hudson moves up 1 spot to 5th, and Eau Claire Memorial drops 1 spot to 6th, or 2 spots. Sorry, they dropped 2 spots to 6th, which seemed odd to me, but people vote for who they vote for. In Division 2, we have a tie atop the rankings, which is very unusual this late in the season. But St. Mary Springs and New Richmond are now tied at the top of the D2 rankings, splitting the first place votes evenly, taking all the first and second place votes. Amory is still 3rd. Oregon is 4th. They move up 1. Mosinee was not ranked last week. They move up to 5th. And Lakeland is still 6th. Rhinelander dropped out of the top 6. Girls Superior are still number 1. Central Wisconsin Storm moved up 1 to 2. Bay Area dropped 1 to 3, and then Hayward, Madison Metro, and the Warbirds make up 4, 5, and 6. Same as last week. I didn't think that Eau Claire Memorial would be hit for 2, 4-2 game with the number 1 team in the state, but that's what happened. That's not usually what happens when you lose to the number 1 team in the state in a close on the scoreboard game. But yeah, they lost. And then, that's all I gotta say about that.
The boys D2, St. Mary Springs and New Richmond a tie. Those two have played this season too.
Yeah, it was a 4-1 win for Springs. But since then, Richmond has been pretty close to flawless. Yeah, since then, New Richmond has lost to Rochester Mayo in a tournament they played in Minnesota, but they beat Chippewa Falls, they beat Superior. So people are expecting good things out of them. New Richmond plays Amory this week. That'll be a good game. They play Eau Claire North this week. That should be a good game. And they play Hudson this weekend. So
that should be a great game.
If New Richmond wants to hang on to that number 1, this is the week to do it.
And you look at the geography of it. Amory's not that far down the road, and New Richmond is even closer. Hudson is even closer to New Richmond. So, got some games where there could be, maybe be a little bit more tighter of a game.
It was a Division 1 team, but Springs did lose this week. They lost to University School. And they lost, to Middleton and Chippewa Falls back in December. So they're not the juggernaut Springs team from 2 and 3 years ago. So there is room for New Richmond in there, even though they did play head to head and Springs did win. So
upcoming games of the week this Friday, going to be making the trip over to Brookfield to watch Brookfield and USM get together. I haven't had a chance to see Brookfield in a while, so looking forward to that one. And on Saturday, St. Croix Valley Fusion at the Central Wisconsin Storm. Burglar and Junior are going to tag team that one, looks like. So Saturday, St. Croix Valley and the Central Wisconsin Storm. Burglar and Junior will have that one for you. Stories and pictures and all the other things you like to look at.
Yeah, we haven't, I don't think we've done the Storm this year. We have done them quite a bit. Well, quite a bit in the past because they're the closest one girls team to us. I think we started out, we kind of missed their tournament this year at the beginning of the season. I think we did that last year, even though it was in Mosinee. Last year we did that, but we haven't covered them this year, so it'll be a good one to check out. Actually, Bill might even write up the game for Friday because he has to go to the game Well, he gets to go to the game on Friday also when they take on, I think, the Western Wisconsin Storm
Stars.
because it's the little kids are going to be showcased during one of the intermissions.
Yeah, I believe during the first and second intermission, the 8U, all the 8U girls in the Everest Youth Hockey Association. I don't know if it extends to the other youth hockey associations that make up the Storm varsity team, but yeah, they'll be on the ice, so I'll have to be there for that.
Does that mean one Lorelei is going to be out there?
Oh yeah,
Nice. I like it.
So guys, as we're looking forward here, not next week, but the following week, will that be the Badgerland conference tournament going on?
they should all be soon. The Fox River Classic tournament is this week. Game schedule.
I just sent an email to Coach Wojcik of the Warbirds to ask him when the Eastern Shores Conference tournament was going on.
Based on the TBDs on Springs' schedule, the Badgerland Conference tournament will be the first weekend of February, 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, that
Oh
sounds
yeah,
about right.
because I see next week on Thursday, Springs plays Notre Dame, which isn't part of the Badgerland Conference, so that could be an interesting game.
Couple of number ones going head to head. Not something that was possible 4 years ago.
And if I remember correctly, you're talking the beginning of February. That's usually when the Groundhog tournament is in Sun Prairie.
Yep. So I mean, you look at we're 2 weeks away right now from the conference tournaments going on, and that's basically 2 weeks before regionals start.
Yeah.
I believe next weekend, the 27th and 28th, will be the Great Northern Conference tournament, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Final thoughts before we close this show up.
I got one for you, MJ.
We open it up here to about it. Go ahead.
Coaches or whoever's doing the game schedules, when you play a conference game, it affects your league and division standings. If it's not a conference game, it only affects your league standing. If it's something that you are recording your scores on,
Okay.
it does affect the league standings. It does. You should not be having a game that has no effect on the standings.
Are you saying, like, for example, the Janesville Sun Prairie game at the Joe Raymond?
Well, that one should have been one that affected league standings, and it was marked as does not affect standings. So I actually adjusted it.
Thank you.
Yeah, every few years we write up a new guide to send to the coaches, but we'll have to do another one this offseason.
I had thought about that, and it just slipped through the cracks of my mind. I'll try to do better next time.
Well, it's not been just one game. I mean, it's not just been one team. It's been scattered throughout, and it's been on both boys and girls side. But we have a lot of new coaches.
Yeah, and then, I mean the wording isn't obvious. I mean, league means it's a WIAA sanctioned game. Division is your conference. So league and division for conference games, league only for non-conference games.
And that's not like, we can't change that terminology. That's just how Sport Engine calls it, since it is a generic app that covers many sports. So that's just what they call it. So Del, when you drive into Viroqua, do they have a sign that says like birthplace of Butch Vig?
No,
They should.
but they did have a sign up for my parking space.
Yeah, you sent us that picture. Was it a mile away?
No, it was right up by the building.
For the uninitiated, Butch Vig, kind of legendary music producer, produced Nevermind for Nirvana. He's also the founder and drummer for the band Garbage from Viroqua, Wisconsin. That's all I know about Viroqua.
I know even less. I've never been to Viroqua. I couldn't tell you, but all I know is what I've heard or what I've seen is they're going to give Dell the key to the city to come down and cover the girls' game.
Well, actually, Viroqua, back when I was with the WMHL and everything, and this was in 2004, that was the rink in which a former player took a puck to the chest and they ended up passing away, a high school player. And that's one reason they really pushed at getting the AED defibrillators in a lot of the rinks around the area.
Yeah, and the NHL just re-upped their policy on that kind of thing after, I forget the Bills player who had the cardiac issue on the field a couple weeks.
Damon Hamlin.
Yeah, the NHL just re-upped all of their cardiac procedures because 5 players I saw in the last 25 years in the NHL have had their hearts stop in the middle of a game.
Who was the guy for the Dallas Stars and had that happen? They got him jump started again, and he wanted to go back in the game.
The most recent one that I remember was Jay Bouwmeester of the Blues. That was just last year, the year before. It was fairly recently.
Hmm.
As far as never being to Viroqua, MJ, if it's south of Highway 10, I don't really think it's worth going to in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I mean, really, all the good stuff is north of Highway 10.
Speaking of the NHL, I saw a picture on Twitter of Cole Caulfield's socks, and everything with it. Had his
Didn't see
picture
that
on the
too.
socks.
I did too. They're making a big push to put Cole Caulfield in the All-Star game.
Yeah, the Canadians, the Montreal Canadiens fans have gotten him trending on Twitter like 3-4 days in a row, trying to get that, because the last 12 spots, I guess, are fan vote, trying to get him voted into the All-Star game. I also saw a clip from earlier in the season where they were interviewing a bunch of Montreal players, talking trash among the team. And they asked a bunch of players, who is Marty St. Louis' favorite player? And like everybody who wasn't Cole Caulfield said Cole Caulfield. And apparently several players on the Canadians refer to Marty as Cole's dad.
But you know what? It's a good fit. You think about it coach-wise.
Well, it is. And my brother, he was at a Canadians game in Columbus, Ohio, a couple weeks ago, and he said, man, Caulfield doesn't play a whole lot of defense. And I'm like, he plays exactly as much defense as Martin St. Louis tells him to.
He's I really hope he gets in, especially on a fan vote. I mean, for crying out loud, they voted John Scott in that one year. Why not Cole Caulfield? He had the game-winning goal last night over the Rangers in a 2-1 game. It was a beautiful goal, too. The puck isn't on his stick very long at all. I mean, it gets there and it's gone.
Yeah, he's at like 26 now.
Yeah.
I actually saw a tweet the other day about the game against Notre Dame, and I believe they mentioned that the goalie in net that night was from Wisconsin.
Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Well, we know one of the defensemen's from Wisconsin.
Okay.
Now I got to look that up.
While you're looking that up, I like to remind the coaches out there about the Hobie Baker Character Award. Character, excellence, love of the game, sportsmanship. These are the values that shaped the legend of Hobie Baker. The Hobie Baker Award Committee believes that adversity builds character and character builds excellence. Character makes the game better. So nominate somebody from your team for the Hobie Baker Character Award coaches. We've got the link right on our site. If you did, you should have already gotten something. I believe that Jim Hayes sends out emails to all of the coaches with the nomination form and that. If not, you can find it on the site. Nominate your players, a player for the Hobie Baker Award. It's easy to do. Somebody on your team deserves it.
Now, there are two players at University of Notre Dame from Wisconsin, Chase Blackman and Brady Bjork.
I remember Brady Bjork.
Greg Blackman was from Hudson. Bjork played his freshman year at Homestead, his junior year or sophomore year at Culver Military Academy, his junior year with the Madison Capitals, and his senior year with Notre Dame Academy. So 4 teams in 4 years.
Wow.
He moved around a lot, and then he went to the BCHL, then the NAHL, and now he's in the NCAA. So
Yeah, I remember that.
he's a
name.
23-year-old junior, which is a hockey only thing in the NCAA. You don't see 23-year-old junior basketball players or football players or baseball players in the NCAA, but in hockey, it's kind of common.
Well, actually, this year, because of they extended some things because of the COVID. Like a year that wasn't. I mean, I've heard the little bit of college football that I watched. I heard several times about a 7th. This is like the 7th year, of this. That they got redshirted as a freshman. They missed one season because of injury. They got a bonus season because of the COVID, and now they're a 7th year senior. And it's like, John Belushi, an Animal House, 7 years of college down the drain.
Well, the starting quarterback for Georgia was 25 years old this year, older than 3 NFL quarterbacks starting in the playoffs.
Well, I remember Darrell Bevel.
Yeah.
His senior year at Wisconsin was Brett Favre's first year in Green Bay, and Bevel was older.
Yeah, because he had his 2-year Mormon mission.
Yes.
Then he transferred. I know it's a little bit off the subject. You talk about Badger football, how the new coach has come in and been able to get all these supposedly high-end recruits, according to everybody. We'd like to see it sure happen with the hockey team. The transfer portal has been very nice to the Badger football team. And nobody has an opinion on it. Okay.
No, college is hard.
Sure it is. If it was easy, everybody would go there. So, anything else you guys want to cover?
I think that's all.
Okay. Like I say every week, we'll try to do better next week. But for Dell, the Berg family, I'm Mike Hammett. Come back next week and check us out on This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey.